We're on the record.
I'd like to call the April 24th, 2018 meeting of the complaint.
Wolf has texted me and he is on the way to the meeting. Member Hinsey.
Present.
Hinsey present. Chair Tesfa.
Present.
Tesfa present. We have a quorum.
Oh.
I'd just like to note that Member Wolf has just entered the room.
Thank you.
There are no agenda changes that I know of at this time. Next on the agenda is item number 2, approval of the March 27, 2018 meeting minutes.
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Any public comment on that motion? Seeing none, can we take that by acclamation?
Yes, the matter is adopted without objection. Next on the agenda is item number 3, public comment. Members of the public may address the committee on matters that are within the committee's jurisdiction, but not on today's agenda. I do note you're on the line, Mr. Bowe. I'll just wait for us to call you. There's no other public comment in the room. Mr. Bowe, would you like to make your public comment at this time?
Yes, I'd like to make a public comment that on the 19th of this month, I got an email from Tom DeCaney, the Director of Cultural Affairs. He's accusing me of putting up a website and making demands. There's no evidence to support his claims. I don't know anything about a website, and I find this absolutely outrageous. Thank you so much.
There's no other members of the public in the room at this time.
Public comment is now closed.
There is somebody in the audience.
Yes.
Item number 4.
Next on the agenda is item number 4, file number 17134, complaint filed by Thomas Bussey against the San Francisco Public Utilities Commission for allegedly violating Administrative Code, Section 67.21, 67.24G and I, and 67.27 by failing to respond to a public records request in a timely and or complete manner. Just a little bit of history on this matter. We did hear it at our last meeting, and SFPUC did state that they would they were going through and redacting the emergency plans, and they did provide that to us via email link. I have attached that link to the packet, and it is an active link where you only need to click on it to open it, and that is where we left the last meeting.
Can the petitioner please approach? Victor, can we give Mr. Bussey some time to give us an update on the case so far and possibly the adequacy of any additional information that Mr. Buss has received?
We'd like to provide 3 or 5 minutes.
3 minutes.
Okay.
I'd like to limit my comments today to a prepared statement. Until last year, the Sunshine Ordinance was like the fire department. A thing that, in theory, I supported and always took comfort to know was always there, even if I, myself, never had to use it. Today, I no longer believe that to be true. For I've seen in my own lifetime the people who were supposed to be there fail. Those who were supposed to keep us safe lie. And as you come to the end of the term this week in 3 days, perhaps it is better to end this sorry, sad charade. The PUC released the 1989 document not because I asked about it. They released it because Curtis Alexander of the Chronicle asked about it. And in today's news cycle, we so readily forget last month, let alone decades ago. The report reveals this concrete dam structure. The joke is not funny. We are still at the eternal mercy of the SFPUC's benevolent grace and today honored to partake of its private information with only the Chronicle to plead on our behalf. the California Constitution's freedom of information a civil right notwithstanding. As an accountant, I deal in broad principles. Transparency is one such principle. It is a cultural value, holding others to account. The common law used to be this way. I would elaborate on my reason for asking and about how it could reveal more about the city's true financial position, but there's no point. After all, if you do not care how a multi-million-dollar sales tax disappears into a black hole, or that the city and county of San Francisco has been bankrupt for quite some time now and the pyramid scheme will come crashing down someday, only propped up at the moment by the PUC and the Airport Commission's revenue bonding capacity, then I should hardly expect you to care. But who said it had to be this way? That this exact system is the only way. It's not a legal choice or an engineering choice or an environmental choice or an administrative choice. It is a moral choice. But at first it means getting your head out of the sand to make it. And for that reason, and that reason only, I do not withdraw this complaint. Thank you.
Can the respondent approach and please give us an update on these documents that you have released? Thank you.
Hi, good evening. This is Mary Ellen Carroll with the SFPUC. The update is that we released the documents to Mr. Busey last week. I think it was on the 17th of April. And that's the update. I don't know if you guys have any specific questions.
Thank you. I have a question for Mr. Bussey.
Yes.
Or I guess members, do you have any questions first? I should have
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Have you had an opportunity to look at the documents that were released by the PUC that were provided via the link in the packet?
Yes, I have.
Are these documents sufficient to fulfill what the documents that you had requested?
They do not answer the question I was asking about, but they are generally representative of what I was asking for.
Were there any documents that were not released pursuant to the specific reasons that we had discussed at the last meeting for critical infrastructure, things like that, that do you believe should not have that kind of restriction on the document?
I would say that there is nothing in the documents that strikes me as particularly sensitive except from a public relations standpoint. The only part of the documents that are unclear to me, and I don't know if there are components to the documents that have not been released because I would not know that they are there, concern those regarding the role of the San Francisco Department of Emergency Services and the interaction of the SFPUC's two radio systems. Obviously, a 1989 emergency action plan predates the current radio systems. How do you communicate between two facilities in the wilderness? Which system are you using? And why did you borrow money to purchase that system and are unable to do so with replacement only anticipated in 2035 when, according to Department of Homeland Security guidelines, it will already be obsolete? I'm confused, and this has brought no light on the subject.
And then also you said that at this time you're not withdrawing your petition?
I'm not withdrawing my complaint. I feel that this needs to be decided on for the reasons I stated.
Are there any documents that are being withheld that you had included in your complaint that you would still like to see?
The city attorney's response. But
And that would be the city attorney's response stating that...
I've said my piece at this point. I don't have anything in me right now to argue anymore.
I'm not arguing with you. I'm trying to get clarity on the record. Are you available to move your item forward, or are you refusing to answer questions? I'm confused.
I think that I've answered every question that can be answered.
I still have questions for you. Will you be able to answer them today?
Ask them.
Okay. Which documents from the city attorney's office are you still looking for?
The document about my communication with this PUC.
Okay, so that would be relevant to the complaint against the city attorney's office, not against the PUC, correct?
It will be relevant to the decision to withhold and the decision of how to redact, what to redact.
Right, but do you have a complaint pending against the city attorney's office for these documents?
I have nothing to say to response to that.
Do you have a pending complaint for documents from the city attorney's office? It's just a yes or no question.
Not with this organization.
Okay, thank you. Do the other members have any other further questions?
I just have just a simple question. You're bringing this complaint forward today for not providing a response, not providing documents, or looking to reveal the redactions?
For the purposes of precedence, it's for the purposes of establishing a track record, for the purposes that in a year's time that they just don't close up again. That's why.
Thank you.
Victor, I have a question for you. So can you remind me of the status of file number 18013? This was the complaint filed by Mr. Bussey against the city attorney's office that he said no longer exists.
I believe it still exists pending scheduling before the full task force.
Okay. Thank you. Do the members have any other further questions? Would you like to hear rebuttals?
I'm just a little, I just want to be, I don't see the original complaint in here. Somebody point it out for me, please. I see the description, but
Do you mean the original request for records or
no, the
intake document for us?
yes.
It would be, my assumption is the December 2nd, 2017 letter listed on page 10.
Right, but where's the our intake?
In terms of
Yeah, when
my summary?
No, when somebody files for hearing, the form that's usually included.
I believe it was just a letter. It was open based on the letter, not upon any specific complaint form.
Okay, all right. So if we take that on page 10 and looking at the regarding statement, it says complaint regarding San Francisco Public Utilities Commission failure to produce public records in violation of the administrative code and against the city attorney for acting as legal counsel for a city employee for the purposes of denying access to a public record. So whether or not Mr. Bussey has another complaint before us that's separate regarding the city attorney, it seems that this is inclusive of that.
No, these items were split, so there are two. So that's why now there are two file numbers. Yeah,
Okay.
that was like a previous iterations of
Okay,
it.
great. Okay. Maybe I wasn't here for that meeting.
You came a little bit late.
Okay.
And we had already heard from the city attorney's staff at that point.
Okay, great. So separating that, may I hear from the respondent? I have a question for the respondent. I'm sorry, repeat your name again?
Mary Ellen Carroll.
Mary Ellen Carroll, thank you. I just wondering, when did you release the documents to Mr. Bussey?
On April 17th.
April 17th. Of this year?
Yes.
At the last meeting, there was we had held the item to come back for this meeting because they were going through the process of releasing the document. So the link that is in the packet, there's like a download set of zip files of all of the plans that were released. We had a discussion at the last meeting about what types of redactions would take place with those documents, redactions for confidential information or critical infrastructure. And I had requested that, in case there's a dispute over what is released, that we need to know what standards are used for releasing the documents. So my earlier question to the petitioner was, were there any documents that needed to be released that were not released?
Right.
And I didn't get a clear response on that. But
I think it's a better question for the respondent if they've
Right.
withheld any additional documents. Because I don't see any redactions in any of these.
in the zip files,
Yeah. I mean, they've all been expanded and included for the record here, correct?
No, I left a link to the documents.
yeah. And so all the documents in there, the files, they almost all of them say redacted. So they have like portions of them that have been redacted. I think
If you go to the
11
cover
files.
sheet of the item, it is an active link to the redacted documents.
Can I respond on this?
You may.
Okay, so first of all, we have released all of the EAPs or emergency action plans that we own or that we have written that are in our part of our organization. Those include inundation maps, which were named. Not every document was redacted. We redacted sparingly for only for very specific operational information about critical facilities, water operational information. And in fact, if you see in the documents, there's pages that say destroy confidential, and we did not redact them. So we did what we feel is our responsibility by city and state law to protect the water source for our customers. That's our responsibility, and so that's how we redacted the documents.
So I have a question with regards to redaction. So did you follow up when you sent these documents to Mr. Bussey with a cover letter stating what statutes
Yes.
you used? For
We did.
Okay. And is that in our packet here today? Or can you tell me? I mean, because
Are you asking me? I'm sorry. I apologize. I came from another meeting outside of San Francisco, and I don't have any of the papers in front of me.
Okay.
But the cover letter does.
All right.
Thank you.
So, all right, that goes back to October 30th, so that's not going to be the one.
So April 17th, thank you. Mr. Busey just handed me a copy of our cover letter to the task force. We have an exemption in the California Emergency Services Act, Section 8589.5E of the Government Code.
Hold on. Can you give me that number again?
California Emergency Services Act, Section 8589.5E.
Are there any others?
No, that's the one we quoted for this.
And it's in which code?
Government Code.
Oh, in the government code, sorry. Office of Emergency Services.
California Emergency Services Act.
So this section is titled Office of Emergency Services.
I don't have it in front of me. It's Section 8589.85E.
I see it says Chapter 7, California Emergency Services Act, but Article 5, of which this is under, says Office of Emergency Services. It says there is in state government, starting with 8585, there is in state government within the Office of the Governor, the Office of Emergency Services. The Office of Emergency Services shall be under the supervision of the Director of Emergency Services.
It's not 8585, it's 8589.5E.
No, I understand that, but it's under the same
Okay.
same section. Right, so it says for the purposes of this section, emergency action plan, it describes what emergency action plan is, but it seems to be applicable. I've read this through before. It seems to be applicable for that particular department, for the Office of Emergency Services, not for anybody else.
They have jurisdiction to approve the plan, so that may be.
Well, I don't know. You would have to show us that.
I'm sorry, I don't have the documentation in front of me. All of this has been provided in previous iterations of information that you've received.
Well, but you just delivered the documents to Mr. Busey with this citing the redaction based upon this particular section right now, April 17th, right?
This was actually what we provided to you. This isn't the cover letter to Mr.
Okay, well, even still, it
Yes.
was April 17th.
Yes,
We
yes.
haven't heard on this case since
Correct.
then. So
I guess what are you? So we provided the documents. There was some. So are you questioning the redaction?
I'm questioning the reaction.
Okay.
Because just because the site, in order to redact, it has to be a direct citation. It's a direct statute protecting that information.
We also have, and it's not included in here. So if you give me,
I can clarify the
Thank you.
situation. So this act, there are state agencies that have to follow this act, but then there are also local public safety agencies that need to create EAPs. So the Public Utilities Commission, in their role as the agency in San Francisco that oversees the watersheds and that portion, that's where this takes place. So if you look at, there's the section under 8589.5, section 2, it says that local public safety agencies may adopt emergency procedures that incorporate the information contained in any emergency action plan in a manner that conforms to local needs that include all of the following elements. So this is where the Public Utilities Commission is gaining the guidance and explanation on how they're supposed to be creating emergency action plans, because this is a statewide initiative that portions of it have been delegated to local agencies in areas where they have jurisdiction. So the state is creating these emergency action plans, but in certain areas where there is local jurisdiction over that property, that watershed, things like that, where the local governments are required to create emergency action plans. So that's why the Public Utilities Commission is using this portion, because this was a statewide initiative where certain parts have been delegated to local authorities to create where they have the responsibility. But there are state agencies that cover certain areas that are under state jurisdiction as well.
I hear you on that. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It really is incumbent upon them to bring it forward in their own defense.
I agree. That's why I was waiting for so long.
I know,
to
but
say
I
something.
still think, if they're not able to answer the question or bring it forward, that's on them.
I mean, they've cited the code, the section of the code, and so that's why we're able to pull it up. And that is what the code says under section 8589.5.
And so the state has jurisdiction over these. Originally, we did not provide the documents citing this code. We made a decision to go ahead and share the documents and are citing the code for a very limited part of the plans that we feel it is our responsibility to redact. For instance, in the Moccasin Dam incident, the last 5 years of inspection plans, inspection reports on that dam were provided to media and the public. Those are redacted. We don't have even control over that.
I understand, but there's nothing in this section that talks about withholding information. This is what would be in an action plan. It doesn't talk about, I don't see anywhere in here that there would be any information that should be withheld.
I don't, again, I apologize. I do not have this in front of me right now. I'm also, so it's up to you how you want to proceed, but we feel it is our responsibility. Also, within the local admin code, I believe that we quoted that to our in our letter to Mr. Busey, if I can pull it up, that
Their letter to me is different. Incidentally, you can be a private dam owner.
Thank you. So, California Public Records Act, Section 6254K of the California Public Records Act, Section 67.27A of the Sunshine Ordinance make clear that the SFPUC may rely on the exemption in Section 8589.5E to withhold EAPs in their entirety. Furthermore, redactions are consistent with the San Francisco Charter Section 8B.120, which states the voters of the city and county of San Francisco are committed to preserving and protecting the system, as well as safeguarding the extraordinary quality of water from Yosemite and local watersheds. The voters find that the protection, maintenance, and repair of the system are among their highest priorities. In addition, we have redacted, so for instance, we also redacted personal identifiable information, mostly in home and cell phone numbers, and in that Those were based on the California Constitution, Article 1, Section 1 of the California Government Code 6254K and California Government Code 6254C against disclosure of information that would invade personal privacy.
Thank you.
I'm not sure if have you had a chance to review the redactions, the documents?
I've seen the redactions. I just feel like right now I'm lacking from both sides kind of putting up the showing. What I was looking for was for Mr. Busey to look at the redacted documents and say, you know, they redacted this and I don't think they should have. And then for the Public Utilities Commission to say, oh, you know, we redacted that portion pursuant to X. And I'm not seeing that kind of activity from either of the parties right now. I've asked Mr. Busey if he thought there was anything that should be missing, that should be there that should not be missing, and he says that how would he know? I mean, if you look at the documents, they were pretty detailed with what they redacted. So, like for portions, you can go ahead and tell that this is someone's phone number. It's redacted. There are portions that aren't personal information that were redacted where there's still a heading, and I think that there could be a logical analysis one way or the other whether it was appropriate to redact that or not. I see the applicability of the statute section we were just discussing to this, but it really takes both sides for us to have a fruitful review of this case, and it's making it difficult to move forward.
So are you not satisfied with the legal?
Well, like, for example, I know you can't open the document yourself from where you are, but there is a section in the EAP about Lake Eleanor where there is a redaction in the section that has to do with coordination of flows. And it says, in the event of an emergency requiring lowering of Lake Eleanor storage, depending on accessibility, the following steps will be taken, X, Y, and Z. I think there are probably good reasons for that to be redacted, but what I would like you to show me is a portion of some type of code that says that this information needs to be redacted, and you haven't done that. I would also be looking for, instead of me saying this right now, I need to have Mr. Bussey saying this, saying that maybe something either was improperly withheld or there hasn't been enough substantiation as to why it's been withheld. And so, for example, for what I just stated, the coordination of flows, what section of any code have you used in order to redact that information?
We use the codes that we cited in the letter.
And
unfortunately, there isn't a code that says very specific things like do not talk about butterfly valves, gates, or
no, but it would
tunnels.
say something like do not release information that would jeopardize the water system or jeopardize public safety or something like that specifically. And so,
we believe that the state code is generally saying that, and that the San Francisco Charter also generally states that. And as the operator of the water system, we also, because it is not super specific, there has to be, unfortunately, there is some interpretation that has to take place here. We try to be as open as humanly possible with leaving as much information as that we could without jeopardizing the safety of the drinking water for 2.8 million people. I have a question, if that's okay, just to understand. About this process, do you need to have a complaint about the redactions to move forward, or is that something that as a committee you all can take up on your own as a committee?
I can explain that.
Yeah.
So What would usually happen is someone has filed a complaint saying they're not receiving information. And pursuant to the Sunshine Ordinance, there's a specific section talking about documents being withheld as well as the amount of information that is withheld from the document. That would be in the event of a redaction. So here, pursuant to that section, we're supposed to be looking at what has been given out and if the redaction makes sense pursuant to some kind of specific law that says that this type of redaction can occur. So redaction might be for personal information, a redaction might be because it's privileged information, attorney-client, for example. And so that's what we're looking for. And so this is within Mr. Bussey's complaint that he didn't receive information at all, and then now he's receiving information and more is being withheld than is supposed to be being withheld, because that is a specific section of the Sunshine Ordinance.
But did he, I guess maybe, could we ask him again if that's his, it's not clear to me.
And that's what I was saying earlier. I asked him, was there any portion of the documents that were, given out that shouldn't have been redacted? And I didn't get that information. But I had also asked the Public Utilities Commission at the last meeting, you had said that, we're going to make an effort to get these large documents out, and some of it's going to have to be redacted. And I did ask for you to specifically be able to cite which sections you're using for each redaction that you're using. And I'm not getting that as well, so.
I made this complaint I made my initial request in November 2017. It is April 2018. Quite frankly, for me to do this type of work, it's actually beyond the timeliness of my original request. So it's busy work for me right now because of other decisions that have been made that were dependent on what I wish to speak about. And so therefore I have not been able to publicly comment on the propriety of those proposed actions which have now been taken.
So my feeling at this point, and I'd like to hear from the rest of the members, is we don't have a petitioner who is able to move this complaint forward. I don't see how we can move this item onto the full task force. Documents have been provided, and we're not able to hear about any details on if they were proper, what amount was provided, what wasn't provided.
I have a question just to you.
Sure.
Do you feel that the documents have been served and satisfied?
That's really not for me to say.
Okay.
It really isn't. And
So-
I want the complainant to say that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But what I'm hearing
I
is
think
that
one of the things
they're too late.
that we can, one of the things that seems obvious to me is just timing. But, they weren't released. I mean, we asked, I guess the question is were they, was there a timing issue at this point? That's one aspect.
So kind of review of the extension that was requested.
Yeah. I mean, the extension is only 14 days. 10 days, actually. Okay. Well, Mr. Busey, can I ask a question? Do you feel that the document, besides the redactions, do you feel that the documents that were provided to you satisfied your original request?
Yes.
The answer from Mr. Busey was yes. Then the question is, are there any other outstanding violations?
I mean, we could entertain the one on timeliness, but I'm a little frustrated because I asked that same question to Mr. Bussey like 10 minutes ago, and he said he hasn't had a chance to look at it or look into it, and now he's saying yes.
Okay.
I don't know what's happened in the last 10 minutes, but
Well, we're here as the complaint committee on this, not to adjudicate, but to make sure we have all the information so that the task force can make a decision and then provide any additional information. I think we have it. I think we can move it forward with the questions about the redactions for the task force to take up. And to have legal counsel chime in on that too, in his memorandum.
at this point, I don't think that we have all of the facts from the parties to entertain the issue of the redaction. I think we have all of the facts to talk about a timeliness issue,
Okay.
but I don't know if we have all the information about the redaction.
What other information? So then let's ask the respondent to bring that forward, except based upon the information, what the respondent just read. If that's their answer, then that should be sent up to the task force.
I guess I think there are two parts to that. There's
Okay.
one, we need the petitioner to say yes or no, were things properly redacted? What I'm just hearing is that, yes, they were, because he's received all of the information that he has requested. That's his new response.
But the question, all I asked is if he received all the documents he expected, not necessarily with regards to the redactions. It's my question about the redactions as to whether they were appropriate or not.
I still think that's something that the petitioner should be willing to pursue.
Okay.
Because this is an adversarial process where there's the petitioner and the respondent, and there's only a certain amount of work that we should have to do.
If we notice
For
something,
facts.
well, I guess my point is if we notice that there is a redaction and if the petitioner is unaware or not bringing it up, I mean, if we notice that there is something that seems to be out of the ordinary, I mean, if all the documents were received and they're all blacked out, and the petitioner said, "Well, I got these documents," I suppose if they blacked it out, it was appropriate. Well, I think it's our job to, as kind of investigating this to determine whether they were properly redacted or not.
I mean, at this time, I looked through the EAPs that were provided. There are redactions. They are not excessive redactions. So I would have a hard time saying that they are out of the ordinary.
Well, there's things like page 4.3.
Out of 124 pages.
Yeah, but that could be significant information that, and the question is whether it was properly redacted or in the interest of sunshine, whether that is public information. I mean, if I were to make a request to the California Public Utilities Commission and ask them for the same document and they provide it to me unredacted, that would be my question. Would the state also protect this information?
I mean, the state would not have this information because we don't have jurisdiction over municipal dams.
Okay.
But I just think that we need to have Mr. Bussey's buy-in if we're going to move this forward. And if we can get that, then I'm happy to move this forward.
Well, but I'm a little confused. I mean, the complaint has been made. It's now ours to move forward. So, is there still a violation that's outstanding? From what I heard in his opening testimony, is that the redactions are an issue.
That's not what I heard in the opening testimony.
That's
Member
what I
Hensey, do you
thought
have-
I heard.
If he would like to come forth
I
and say
think-
that, then that's fine.
Okay.
But that's not what I heard. I heard that he said that the decisions that he needed this information for have passed, that the timeliness issue has caused him not to be able to pursue the actions that he needed to pursue, and decisions have been made that he was trying to possibly influence or work on or collaborate on, and that has passed.
So
So I
the
need to find-
redactions are moot at this point?
No, I just need to have his buy-in on, is he going to move this matter forward on the adequateness of the redactions? Member Hensey?
Yeah, I agree. So I think, should we have him come forward?
I would like to have him come forward if he would
Yeah.
like to let us know if he's going to pursue this further.
Sounds good.
I've invested quite a bit of time in this, actually. You have my legal briefs about the problems with the PUC's interpretation of the Emergency Services Act, how that interacts with the California Public Records Act, and specifically a reminder about the ability for a private entity such as PG&E to own a dam in the state of California. So it is the Department of Emergency Services that treats these action plans as confidential when they have them. But the origin of them, if they're from the PUC, they are covered by the Sunshine Ordinance and they're supposed to be disclosed in their entirety. The redactions, in a general sense, look reasonable to me.
Okay.
But I've invested my time, and it's a moot point for my purposes. I made a complaint as far as my opening statement. I consider the ball in your court.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have a motion at this time?
I would move that we not move this forward, that we close it.
Do we have a second on that motion?
Sure. Second.
Can we call the roll?
I would just like to ask the question, and usually we ask that the full task force make a decision on any recommendations from the committee.
That would be a recommendation,
Yes, so this would be a recommendation to the full task force to close the matter.
right?
Oh, well, sure. Second.
Is there any public comment on that motion? There being no public comment? On that motion, Member Wolf.
Aye.
Wolf, aye. Member Hensey.
Aye.
Hensey, aye. Chair Tesfa.
Aye.
Tesfa, aye. The matter will be referred to the full task force with a recommendation to conclude the matter.
Thank you. Can we move to the next item, please?
Next on the agenda, item number 5, file number 17101. Complaint filed by Randy Sinke against the Arts Commission for allegedly violating Administrative Code Section 67.25 by failing to respond to an immediate disclosure request in a timely and/or complete manner. We do have a letter of authorization in the file for your review. And I believe that Mr. Trubeau is on the teleconference line at this time. Can you confirm you're there at this time, Mr. Trubeau?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, just please wait for...
And then we have the respondent present. Okay. Can you give Mr. Bowe 5 minutes?
You may begin.
Ready? Good evening, members of the task force. I'm authorized by Randy Sinke to argue the 2 cases before you tonight. I would like to amend the title, which is Randy Sinke against Kate Patterson of the San Francisco Arts Commission. You can see on the timeline, pages 186 to 188, the original IDR, which was filed by email on September 9th. The response that came on September 12th by Kate Patterson. And the response again on September 14th of Kate Patterson. There are 2 issues here. The first is the immediacy of response. It was sent on September 9th. The response was on September 12th. And I believe it's a violation of 57.25A. In the response on September 14th, she claims she sent, quote, a final record to the response for all, this was the original idea, all logbooks from September 1st through September 9th, 2017. She alleges that there was a PDF attachment. There was no PDF attachment in her response. And then I explained rolling basis. And I guess if you look at the timing of her responses, they were sent within minutes. It's just a routine that she feels she has to go through. She didn't bother to ask, where are you, come in at the second and pick them up at the guard desk, that kind of thing. And then addressing her, Kay Patterson's letter response of October 10th. Firstly, this was a late response. She had 5 days to respond. She also opened a next request file, 17-13, on the same IDR, which was not published. You can see that in your packet at page 230, not made available to the public, and I couldn't access this next request file. So I have issues here. I don't believe the IDR was satisfied because the request was for July 1st through September 9th. Where are the August logbooks? And the September one, which came through when the agenda post didn't line, is a picture of some guy being arrested. What date was that? It doesn't appear to even concern street artists' matters or logbooks. So I don't believe that the request is satisfied. I think this packet is voluminous with repetitive documents, which makes it extremely tiresome and burdensome to go through because of the repetitive emails. And so I've included a copy of the section of the ordinance 6725A through E. A portion of it is on page 186 of your packet. And Kay Patterson didn't supply the entirety of the IDR request. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is the respondent present to give a statement? Thank you. You have 5 minutes.
Sure. Good evening. I'm Kay Patterson, San Francisco Arts Commission. I'm just going to reiterate what we outlined in our letter. So this complaint, the original request was received on a Saturday, September 9th, from Mr. quote-unquote Mr. Sinke, and it was sent as an immediate disclosure request, and we responded on Tuesday, September 12th, following the receipt of the email on Monday, so we were within 24 hours. In my response, we provided him with a PDF for the July logbook and a link to access the August logbook via Dropbox because the file was too large to send via email. I invoked an extension of 10 days to provide a response for the remaining item, which was the September logbook. In response email, Mr. Sinke indicated that he could not open or access the files and asked that I send scans. I tested the files and found that you could open them, but I offered to alleviate any technical difficulty that he might have to provide them on a CD. And all I got was an email from Mr. Sinke saying, repeat after me, send scans. It doesn't open, and just so you know, these documents should be sent on a rolling basis. I responded and explained that scans are, in fact, digital files, and there was really no difference in the files that I was sending and scans. They are the same. They're digital copies of a hard copy or, an electronic copy of a file. And I offered again to put it on a CD, and I never heard back. And instead, I was CC'd on an email complaint to the Sunshine Task Force. There were also complaints that I sent multiple emails, and I attached the entire correspondence for you. And as you can see, that's not true. And then we followed up on September 14th with the remaining logbook. So we were within the 10 days. And if Ms. Trabue could not access files which were for Randy Sinke on next request, that's because she shouldn't have access to his email address, and it would have been, those records would have been disclosed to Mr. Sinke. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them, but I think we fulfilled this request, and I think we provided ample evidence that we responded.
Do the members have any questions at this time?
Do we have a letter from Mr. Sinke? Hold on, I think so. Yeah, it's on page 185. Okay. And why couldn't Mr. Sinke attend today?
I would not be able to answer that question. I would leave it to...
Ms. Trabue, why couldn't Mr. Sinke attend today?
Because he lives in New York. He got a notice to appear, not giving him enough time to drive to San Francisco to argue the case. His address is on page 185.
Okay.
How much notice did we give? I mean,
We
because
give approximately 10 to 15 days notice prior to a meeting.
any person that
Well,
wants to pursue.
we actually don't have a written rule for representation. We have allowed it at the discretion of the chair from time to time. But we don't actually have a rule. The expectation is the person who is the petitioner or the complainant is to be the one that's appearing, and usually when there is additional representation, it's like a lawyer on behalf of that person, but that person is always in attendance. It's not in attendance, or we've had direct confirmation from that person. I think that happened with Ellen Tsang at one time.
Yeah.
So to me, is a little unusual. This is my first time in all my years that I've experienced this.
Except for the Ellen Tsang thing that,
Yeah, Ellen saying because that person was, elderly and were sick.
Yeah, that
And, but we had direct confirmation from that person, I believe.
I think we did that one under reasonable accommodation, if I recall.
Yeah. But this is unusual. I've not had where, other than a member of the bar or some other person would do that. So I'm a little thrown off by this.
Do you think there's a reason that we can't pursue it because of that?
Well, the thing is that the only thing is that we don't have a direct rule for representation. I think, usually when a person will say, like, I don't understand this well enough, I hired an attorney, or I have a friend who can work on this for me, but both parties are present, usually. And so that's what's throwing me a little off, is that Mr. Sinke's not here, that's.
You received a notice.
Let me know when you want to speak with Mr. Bo, and I will unmute it.
Okay. So I'm looking on page 168. That's the original, the bottom of 168 seems to be the original request. It's very simple. I really wish we had legal counsel's memorandum in here with regards to that.
Has it been requested?
Well, legal counsel is supposed to provide memorandum for committee. That's our process. That's in our
But on
complaint
the
process.
representation issue or on the case?
I'm sure that he would have
Addressed
it in his memo.
Did he not?
Considering that a memo came from the respondent questioning that.
Well, there's on page 235. There was a memo
35.
from Nicholas Cola that he wrote on the 19th of April, but he didn't really.
Oh, is that the okay?
But he didn't.
We need to kind of organize this a little better. It's really hard to find. I'm not because I'm not sure. Is this for at the beginning? This is at the beginning of the complaint.
I mean, it's on page 73 of 98, so it's like in the middle of.
Okay.
There's a lot of stuff. There are a lot of documents, but it addresses the substantive issues of the case. It just doesn't represent. It doesn't address the representation issue.
Okay. So this is his initial memorandum for this particular case.
And it deals with the issues of Ms. Patterson's communication with the requester and the
I got it.
$1 for CD and all that.
got
Yeah.
it. Okay. Right. He doesn't address that. He doesn't address it because probably it wasn't brought up, but I think that it's something that the task force needs to address at some point. I think for the purposes of today, we should deal with the merits of the case and make note of that to the task force if the full task force wants to take that up as an issue at the time, just in the essence of time and whatnot. I don't think we should be adjudicating it here.
I think from looking at it, these documents are public. We have jurisdiction over this department, as we know. You can tell from the emails that Ms. Patterson offered a number of alternative ways to access the documents if the requester was not able to access what she sent.
Mm-hmm.
The requester, after the requester responded saying that they wanted scans. What the files she was sending were scans. It's just they were unable to access those. So she offered the CD or the hard copy, neither of which did the requester avail themselves of those, means of receiving these documents. So I'm not sure what else she could have done. So right now I'm not. And then all of this correspondence occurred during the windows required by the ordinance. So I think we have all of the facts. But I don't know if you guys have any further questions for the respondent or the petitioner.
I have a question for the respondent, Ms. Patterson. So you responded on Tuesday.
Yes.
What happened to Monday?
I mean, this was so long ago, I don't know what happened on Monday.
Okay. All right.
But we received it on Monday. We got it on a Saturday. We received it on a Monday.
Okay. All right. That's fine. All right. That's and so and when did you send the documents to Mr. Sinke? You invoked the extension?
I sent 2 out of the 3 requested. I think let me look at my letter. I gave him the PDF file for the July logbook on September 12th and a link to access the August logbook because the files were too big, so I uploaded them into Dropbox. And then so those both occurred on the 12th, and then I followed up on September 14th with the September logbook, which was the final.
So you were providing records on a rolling basis?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Trudeau? Ms.
Hello.
Trudeau?
I take issue.
So let me ask
Go
you
ahead.
no, you can't just launch right into
Okay.
a statement.
Okay.
So with regards, did Mr. Sinke receive the documents as Ms. Patterson had testified?
No.
And were all the
issue on, go ahead.
and were all the documents
No.
all the documents requested received?
No.
No, which documents are missing?
September 14th, which is page 171 and 212 of your packet, which is an email sent by Kate Patterson. There's no PDF attachment.
Yes, there is.
Page 171, you said?
Look at attachments
171.
at
Yeah.
the top.
And then she also opened a next request file, which was not published, so it wasn't
That's
available
different.
to him.
That's different. That's a different thing.
All right, so let's not confuse us here, okay? The request was for logbooks, nothing else.
Yes, but just that, from
Okay.
a certain date to a certain date, July 1st
Through
to
September 9th.
9th.
Right. So on page 171, it says, please find attached logbook for
Exactly.
July 17, 2017. Okay, then then there was
Where's the attachment?
then, what? There's a
the
link
attachment?
there. There's a link.
171.
Oh, okay, so I see what she's asking. So so in your response, Ms. Patterson, on page 171, it says, please find attached a logbook for July 2017. Okay, just scrolling down the page, I don't see a notation for an attachment.
You need to look at the top of the page where it says from, sent to, CC, subject,
I see.
attachment.
Okay.
There
got
it is.
Okay, so that's the original header. Okay, so, Ms. Trudeau, do you know if Mr. Sinke actually, in that email,
I'm looking at it.
it says attachments, September 2017.pdf.
Yes.
So did Mr. Sinke receive that?
No, he did not.
Oh, how's
And
it?
I don't believe that Ms. Patterson has come in today with the documents in her hand.
It doesn't matter if she comes into whether she has them or not in
Okay.
hand.
No, he did not. He did not receive that.
Well, how is it that he didn't receive it? Did he get that email? That was an
I'm looking
email
at
that was
I'm-
specifically
I'm
from Ms. Patterson to Mr. Sinke, not through next request.
Yes, and she was copied Ann Tricky and the task force. It was sent on September 14th at 3:22 p.m. No,
That's
he
right.
did not get the attachment.
Why didn't he?
I guess the
we all got it. How is it that he didn't get it?
Not there.
Well, it was in our. Victor, did you receive the attachment?
Referring to that letter, I do see that there is an attachment. And
No, but was there an actual attachment on that email?
I see at the end of the packet a lot of photos.
Well, wait a second. I'm asking a
there-
question of our administrator. Please hold on.
I'm sorry.
I can't verify right now, but if it's listed there as an attachment, I would assume that it is a PDF that I could open and print and put into the file.
Is the logbook for that date in the file? And then the question I have is who put it in the file? Like who provided it
Yeah.
and put it in the file?
Yeah. Okay.
I'm just trying to corroborate who did what. Did Mr. Sinke get the, Mr. Bowe, did Mr. Sinke was able to obtain all the other files from the Dropbox link?
No, he said he couldn't open the files, which is why he asked for scans. And then, for some reason unknown, a next request file, number 1731, was opened on September 11th. And on page
So all the files,
231
so
of your pack.
that's good. So all the files, the only one that's missing is for September 2017?
She said final file, so she didn't specify what exactly the file contained.
You're not answering my question. My question is the file that is missing, that Mr. Sinke is missing, that is the crux of this complaint, is that
Yes.
September 2017?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
And scrolling through the packet, page 242 through 244, or I don't know how they got in there or what they pertain to. There's 3 photographs. Looks like police and some homeless guy, some maps. That's it. And they're not,
Okay.
doesn't say what they are, what they pertain to.
So
the
Ms.
crux of the map, go ahead.
So, Ms. Trudeau, on page 240, there's a,
Yes,
let's see.
yes, I'm looking at it.
Okay. So that from 240, that's somewhat the same letter as before, earlier.
Right.
And so Victor is page 242, 3 and 4. Is that the attachment?
It is most likely is, because when I do print the departmental's letters, I do print out the attachments at the same time.
Okay. So, Mr.
Just say that the logs are photo based generally. Yeah.
So the logs are photos.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So that's verification of what would be included.
I can
in the
open
log.
it in my email if you would like to see too.
That's
to verify.
okay. All I'm trying to ascertain is if you had CC'd us on it and we received the attachment, then that is verification and corroboration that Mr. Sinke would have also received the same, since he was primarily addressed to it.
Was that all the documents that were sent? I'm confused because they're not labeled. He asked for January 1st through September. Is all that was sent
He asked for
that?
He asked for July 1st through September 9th, 2017.
Yeah.
Okay,
So being that these photos are not labeled, is that all that was there?
Well, what's in the other log? Do they look like the other logs?
Absolutely not. Usually they're written notations.
No, I'm not
of
asking
street
what's.
artists.
I'm
They
not,
don't-
Mr. Bowe. I'm not asking what's usual. I'm asking what's actual. What did Mr. Sinke receive in the other logbooks? Were they also photos?
There was nothing. There was nothing. That's why I'm asking
What do
you.
you-
This is all that was received.
I
So
don't-
being that it's not labeled, what is this? Are there more?
Mr. Bowe, the question is what did Mr. Sinke receive exactly? Okay, so he was sent an email with an attachment for September 27th .pdf. That's an attachment. Okay.
Yes.
There is a link to a logbook for August 2017.
I did not receive that.
It's in the email. The link.
He couldn't open it. He couldn't open it, and the idea was the file was too large. All that was received were these 3 photos.
But as long as the respondent had sent the document, it's not incumbent upon them to determine whether if there's a problem on Mr. Sinke's end or whether he can open it up or not. If he can't
No, the
open it up, and if he can't
revolves-
open it up, and he has a problem, and he needs it to be on some other form of media, then that was what
No.
sending the CD and the charge for the dollar was for.
No, I believe the confusion lays in the fact that these so-called PDF attachments could not be opened, and they were not labeled. And I believe these photos on page 242 to 243 are alleged to have been July and September.
Well, we're not discussing the content of the logbooks. We're only discussing whether the logbooks have been delivered timely. That's
I don't believe so.
the crux of Mr. Sinke's.
Currently opened a next
Ma'am,
request file.
Ms. Trabeau, that is the crux of Mr. Sinke's complaint, is timeliness.
I believe the timeliness 67.25, and I believe, or I know for a fact, the original email was sent to Ann Trickey, and it didn't get to Kate Patterson until the
It
following
doesn't. That's
Monday.
of no.
So that
that's
was the delay.
But Ms. Trabeau, I think you know that the respondent has the ability to be represented by somebody who is knowledgeable. That's the Sunshine Ordinance allows for that. The original IDR was specifically for logbooks. They didn't describe what should be in the logbooks. So the only thing before us is whether the logbooks were in fact delivered. It's of no consequence to us of what's supposed to be in it or not. So I am looking at Ms. Patterson's response from the department. It says, in your request, you asked for all logbooks from July 1st through September 9th, 2017, unquote. Please find attached a logbook for July 2017. Ms. Patterson, let me ask you, the attachment says September 2017.
That's what the, okay, one second, sorry, I had to apply some chapstick.
So is this what I'm reading, because it says original record, was there a second, were there two emails that were sent?
So 2 emails. One had one attachment and then a link to the Dropbox account, right?
That's the
for
one
the first
from
2 months requested. And then the third and final email had a PDF for the September 2017 log. That was the final document.
Okay, so the September 12th had the July, but you see, if you look on page 240.
Exactly.
Okay, Ms. Trabeau, please, I can only keep one train of thought here. It says, please, there's no, in the header that doesn't say attachment.
Okay, let me just see. 240. Okay, well, if you look at 183, look at page 183.
Okay, 183. Thank you. Okay.
So here, there's an attachment for July and a link to August.
Okay. I gotcha. Okay. So Ms. Trabeau, I'm not finding that there was any lack in the Arts Commission providing the documents. They filed for an extension. They provided documents on a rolling basis. Whether they could be opened or not is of a different question, and that could be Mr. Sinke's technology was not working properly. His internet connection may not have been good. If there was a problem with it, I believe there was communication, from that there was communication that it could be offered as printed or provided on a CD and be sent to him. So I'm not sure what's missing here and where the timeliness issue is.
The timeliness issue was that it was sent on Saturday to one employee, Ann Trickey. It lay dormant all day Monday, and the response came Tuesday.
So the ordinance under 6725 is by the following business day. So
All that I can speak on, and you are correct, and I don't take issue with it, is the confusion. Opening a next request under his name without telling him, the emails that were not labeled, it seems to be an unduly amount of confusion, even right now.
Well, I'm not necessarily confused anymore. I mean, originally when the request came in to the department, they started a next request file, correct? No?
No, this one was all self-contained in Outlook. You have all the emails are all
So
from
this
Outlook.
this did not go through next
It did not
request.
go through net request. There was
any part
another,
of it?
a subsequent one from a Randy Sinke that was, I think, that we did create a new file, and there are duplicative requests.
So there's nothing in here that is part of a next request?
No, everything that pertains to this complaint and outlined in my letter is contained in Outlook, and you
Okay,
have
so-
all those emails.
Okay, great. So this has nothing to do with next request. In fact, in September 2017, you weren't using next request, right?
I don't. Yeah,
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
So.
That's why. Well, I would have used next request.
Okay,
Yeah. Mhm.
so it doesn't seem like, because I don't see any next request, anything in here. Well, there is September 11th to page 231. So, Ms. Trabeau, the original, so there was a record that was created for Mr. Sinke at randy@apple@gmail.com, that on page
Right.
231, okay?
Right.
And this is for your first record. So that was opened by Mr. Sinke?
No, he didn't open an account. He wasn't even informed about it. I was doing
It was sent to
a
him.
record.
It was sent to him.
He didn't even open an account. I was doing a record search. That's how I found it.
Yeah,
And
but
being
we're
that
not
it
talking
happened
about.
on the,
But we're not talking about what you're doing. We're talking about what Mr. Sinke's doing.
It's extremely confusing.
Why
That's
is it
all,
confusing?
basically.
I'm not following why this is confusing. We're just trying to follow
It's
process
confusing
here.
because the duplicative emails, the fact that she didn't pick up the phone, he tried to call a couple times, there was no response. He sent the emails. He tried to open these scans. He couldn't. He asked for another way of doing it, and then within 30 seconds was the
Okay.
saying you can pick up the
Ms.
the
Patterson,
CD or
who opened this
Confusing.
next request file?
was opened by Kate Patterson.
No, it looks like Randy put a records request in, and
No.
I mean, we'd have to go to next request because like I said, everything pertaining to this request was contained in Outlook, and you have all of that. And all this says is, if you look at it, it just says,
Says your first San Francisco records request has been submitted.
yeah, and then it says,
At the
to
beginning-
Kate, to date you have sent over 100 of the same email. You are overloading my email, and there is no legitimate purpose towards your harassing me like this. That's all it says.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. I'm not finding a violation here.
Well, I mean, I think we at least have all of the facts in order to elevate this to the task force. We could attach a recommendation of no violation, but I just think that we have all of the facts
Yeah.
at least.
We do. I agree. I would move that we find this in jurisdiction, that the information is public, with a recommendation to the task force that everything seems to be in order and timely.
Do we have a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay. Is there any public comment on that motion? Seeing none, can you call the roll, please?
On that motion, Member Hensy.
Aye.
Hensy, aye. Member Wolf.
Aye.
Wolf, aye. Chair Tesfa.
Aye.
Tesfa, aye. The motion passes. This matter will be referred to the full task force with the recommendation to find that no violation occurred. Next on the agenda, item number 6, file number 18018, complaint filed by Randy Sinke against the Arts Commission for allegedly violating Administrative Code Section 67.14 by failing to make audio recordings available online within 72 hours.
Can we give the petitioner 5 minutes?
Hi. So the title page should be amended to Randy Sinke, the Sharon Page Ritchie of the San Francisco Arts Commission. So the allegation is that the March 5 full commission audio was not posted and didn't work, or was not working after 72 hours that it was supposed to. So you have the narrative on page 267, 268, narrative and timeline, where he tried various ways to access the audio. It was an important meeting. It had to do with the Pioneer Monument and the early days. So there was a lot of public comment, and I'm sure that a lot of people wanted to listen to the audio. So he sent an email March 12th to the commission secretary. On March 12th, Page Ritchie responds like it's a isolated event that the Department of Technology is going to look into it. And then he tried this other way, an MP3 link, which also doesn't work. So the response letter of April 4th to the task force, I take issue with it because Kate Patterson has not supplied any documents to support a claim. There's no email paper trail between the Department of Technology and the Arts Commission. The only one was Paige Ritchie's email after I filed a formal complaint with the task force. Patterson's claim of some changed procedure, I don't know what that means. It's just blame shifting, and she hasn't provided any record of changed or new procedure, and there's no contact between the staff of the Arts Commission and Department of Technology. So it's not an isolated incident. There have been many orders issued on just this issue. So the contention from the administrator is that the audio is in good working order. Yeah, it may be because the administrator and the Arts Commission are on the same server. But remember, this audio serves members of the public. We are not on the same server. So neither of them worked until well into, it was way late when anybody could access the audio. So that's my contention.
Does the respondent have a statement?
Are you finished?
Are you done, Ms. Trudeau? Sorry.
He sent an email once again to Sharon Page Ritchie on the 12th, stating that neither link worked for him. So it doesn't seem like an isolated incident. I don't think if he had sent the email, the audio still wouldn't have worked. So March 12th, Paige Ritchie responds at 4:13 p.m. Thank you for letting us know. Well, the meeting was on March 5th. It was way past the 72 hours. That's it.
Thank you.
I'm done. And that was a late response on the part of Kate Patterson when she sent the letter it was past 5 days.
Ms. Tribou, have you finished your statement?
Yes, I have.
Thank you. The respondent, do you have a statement?
Yes, I do. I first kind of want to address this issue of representation just to put like a tack in it for the full task force. I just want to point out that in this letter provided by Mr. Sinke, you'll see that
Hold
Mr.
on one moment. How do we view that now?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, we have a new system.
Give me a moment. I will put it up.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so you see this letter, which is on page 264. You see Randy Sinke lives at 129 East 60th Street, New York, New York. I just want to point out that that's the same address that Ms. Tribute uses for her street artist license, minus an apartment number. It's also the same address that we have used to correspond with her with regard to her license. So I do think it's very problematic that we would be engaging in a discussion where there's I think, a misrepresentation. But moving on, I'll just go through the letter that we provided explaining what it amounts to a technical glitch. Essentially, Sharon Page Ritchie, the commission secretary, did post the meeting of March 5th on March 7th, well within the 72-hour requirement. The city website offers the audio files in two formats. One is a WMV format, and the other is an MP3. The WMV format plays directly within your browser, and the MP3 you can download. Unbeknownst to us, the Department of Technology had changed the procedure for departments to upload audio files sometimes before March 5th and had not notified us. The change in procedure meant that the WMV file would not play as expected when uploaded by the old method. However, the MP3 file played properly from the time it was first uploaded on March 7th. The first time Arts Commission staff became aware of this issue was upon the receipt of Mr. Sinke's March email on March 12th. And at the same time, we advised Mr. Sinke that he could listen to the audio file from the MP3 link, which was working properly. We have correspondence between Sharon Page Ritchie and Mr. Sinke to corroborate that. And we assured him that we would contact the Department of Technology staff to troubleshoot the MWV file. We also provided him with the direct link to the MP3 file. And so we did contact the Department of Technology, and we lit a fire under their behinds to get them moving quickly to resolve it. And we were able to... we got the information about the new upload procedure and placed the faulty WMV file the next day, and were able to reply to Mr. Sinke with a new functioning link on March 13th, within less than 24 hours of the initial email. Meanwhile, as explained above, the MP3 link worked perfectly well, so it's not true that we did not make the audio file available. It was there within the time period and functional. And so we don't feel that we've made a violation, and we feel like we were responsive to Mr. Sinke in helping him access the audio. And I don't recall whether or not Sharon Page Ritchie corresponded via email with the Department of Technology, but if this moves forward to the next hearing, I can see about getting those records to show that we did, in fact, reach out. But nevertheless, it was resolved. The issue was resolved, and it now works, so that's all.
Do the members have any questions for the petitioner or the respondent?
So I just want to make sure that I'm looking on page 269. That begins, I believe that was submitted by Mr. Sinke, kind of a trail of the communications. So it starts on March 12th at 3:37 p.m. and then Ms. Page Ritchie responds within 60 minutes of that. Is that correct, Ms. Patterson?
It appears so based on what's in front of me.
Okay,
yeah.
so there's no timeliness issue with regards to 6725.
And she included the link to the MP3.
Yeah, and that continues on for the rest of the day there, obviously. And then later it talks about the problems getting the immediate. I don't. I think we have all the information that we need here. I think technology, when it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But if it's being addressed in the moment, as this seems to be, I think we have all the information we need. So I'd like to move to find this within their jurisdiction and that the information is public, and also with any of the documents that have been provided in addition today with no recommendation. I think it'll be clear.
I do have one question for the petitioner, if you don't mind.
Yes.
Ms. Trudeau, when you were giving your statement, you mentioned that you are the one that filed this complaint. Did you file it on behalf of Mr. Sinke, or what did you mean by that? You said, when I filed this complaint.
I am in amazement that Kay Patterson can continue to accuse me of things that are outside the purview of the task force.
I'm not asking about anything that Ms. Patterson said. I'm saying that when you gave your statement, you explained that you said, when I filed this complaint. And I'm just asking, what did you mean by that?
This complaint is filed on behalf of Randy Sinke.
Okay, so you are the one that filed the complaint.
No. He said in his email to the task force, I don't know where in the packet, but I would like to open a file as this has been a constant problem with the Arts Commission, March 12th at 5:57 p.m., page 265 of your packet.
I'm just asking, when you were giving the opening statement, you said that you said, when I filed the complaint. What did you mean by that?
I don't know.
Okay, thank you. It sounds like we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
What was that motion again?
To find jurisdiction and the information to be public, and to be forwarded to
So
the.
you mean no recommendation then?
No recommendation.
Okay.
Unless you want to make a recommendation, I'm happy to amend it.
Second that, yeah.
Okay.
Do we have any public comment on that motion? Please call the roll.
On that motion, Member Wolf.
Aye.
Wolf, aye. Member Hensy.
Aye.
Hensy, aye. Chair Tesfa.
Aye.
Tesfa, aye. The motion passes.
May I request a short break?
Yes, we'll take 5 minutes.
Okay, thanks.
Back on the record. Item number 7, file number 17061, complaint filed by Angelo against the Arts Commission for allegedly violating Administrative Code Section 67.16 by failing to comply with the Sunshine Ordinance requirements regarding submitting public comment summaries.
Can the petitioner give a statement?
Yeah, is it 5 minutes?
Yes, please.
Okay, so the title should be amended, Ann Trickey of the San Francisco Arts Commission, since she was the one who posted the minutes, which you see at the bottom of this concerns an advisory meeting. She posted them at 10:25 a.m. on 6/2/17 with the initials AC, Ann Trickey. So the heading should be amended to Ann Trickey. You see on the timeline, page 311 and 312, where I attended this advisory meeting of May 25th. I submitted and read from 150-word written statement. I read it, handed it in. My statement didn't appear in the body of the minutes under general public comment, item number 2. What appeared was in the minutes was Ann Trickey read a public comment regarding augmented reality items. My name is Ann Tricky, and my statement didn't involve augmented reality. There was a public commenter who wasn't present at the room who submitted a written public comment, and that shouldn't have been in there since he wasn't present in the room. So the response of the Arts Commission on June 2nd is not correct. They claim that they corrected the mistake. They didn't correct the mistake. They didn't include my public comment. They didn't include that I was even present in the room and spoke, but they did take out the other guy's public comment. So, and there was no revision noted. The advisory committee is a member of the, is subject to sunshine law. It's a policy body, and in all their agendas, they state, know your rights under the sunshine ordinance. My public comment, which was written and submitted, is on page, the other guy's written comment. Oh no, my public comment is on page 315 of your packet, which was read and handed in. And the other guy's public comment, it's very confusing. I submitted 2 copies of the minutes. The one just after I filed the complaint, and the one after the June 2nd letter of Kay Patterson claiming that they are in compliance with the law. They're not in compliance with the law. As of June 2nd, they didn't put my public comment in. Page 319 is the Julian Mayer guy who wasn't present in the room. Page 320 says Ann Tricky read a public comment regarding augmented reality items. Read means read from a statement from a 150-word summary. Document A is attached. There was never a document A attachment, not in the original minutes and not in the amended version. So I would like my public comment to be included in the body of the minutes. And once again, Ann Tricky is responsible for it. She approved these minutes, and she posted them. Statement.
Does that conclude your statement?
That concludes my statement.
Thank you. Does the respondent have a response?
Sure, although now I'm a little confused. But so basically, this was one of Miss Tricky's first meetings, and essentially what happened is she was contacted by an artist who couldn't be there but wanted to provide a statement. And so unknowingly, Ms. Tricky read the statement and then included it in the first draft of the minutes, but then got a clarification from the city attorney and understood that because that individual wasn't physically present, that those comments could not be in the meeting minutes. So I think that's the crux of, that's what the complaint says. It has to do with the fact that this person's comments were represented when this person was not there. The initial complaint does not necessarily include the exclusion of Ms. Trebu's comments. And so I was just double checking because when I checked with my colleague, she said that they were there, but at the end, but I was just double checking and I don't see them. This is not a usual meeting insofar as that this is not, it's not a commission meeting. So it's sort of different. It's the advisory committee. So they basically screen street artists. So the manner of presenting the minutes is different. And so I was just looking online now to see where Ms. Trebu's statement was, and she just said that it was there and then it wasn't there. So I'm just trying to find that myself. So, but basically that's what happened is that initially initially, Ann Trickey did include the comments from the individual that Mr. Wu identified, and then after getting clarification from the city attorney, removed them. That's it.
I have a question for the respondent. So, why weren't Mr. Wu's comments included in the minutes, in the body of the minutes, or at all? I can't. I don't see them. I see the notes from a note taker saying that a comment was submitted as is now attachment A. That was about augmented reality, read by or submitted by Ann Trickey. And it sounds like the petitioner is saying that maybe that was a typo. That's not, it should have been her name, but it's the wrong name and it's the wrong content. So I don't know if we should attribute it to Mr. Wu at all. But where are Mr. Wu's comments?
Right. Well, that's what I'm looking for now. I'm sorry, because my understanding of the complaint was the fact that here, sorry. On page 320, it said, okay, no, I'm sorry. So I'm sorry. Let me just restate that. So my understanding of the complaint was that the fact that Ann Trickey read the statement by the individual who wasn't there and then included that in the minutes. My understanding of the complaint was not that Ann Trickey omitted Ms. Tribu's comments. So I apologize for that misunderstanding and misreading on my part. I'm just looking through the minutes to see whether or not they were or were not included.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So looking, starting on, they're repeated here several times, but let's start with page. I guess it doesn't matter because they're just repeated. So starting on page 320. Actually, no. Yeah, let's start on page 318. So you have three of 4 members of the advisory committee present?
Yes.
Okay. And the staff that was there was Mr. Lazar?
Yes, it looks that way, yes.
Okay, great. So as we go down, there's a written statement, somehow it's typed in on page 319, Julian Meyer.
Yes, this is the one in question for the individual who couldn't be there, that this was read at the meeting. And then initially, if you go to the next page, 320, It looks like there at the very top, public comment, it says A attached.
Right, okay, so, okay, and then my next question is if you scroll down to page 327, it says, there being no further business, the meeting was adjourned and then respectively submitted by Susan Tibbin. She's an actual member.
Of the advisory committee, not a commissioner.
Right.
Yes,
So,
I'm just to,
So who was taking these minutes?
My understanding was that Ann Trickey was taking these minutes, but
When you can kind of look at the
it looks
handwriting,
very
and it's
similar.
pretty much the same. Yes.
Yeah.
So
I can answer those questions.
I don't want an answer. I'm asking the respondent to confirm it. It's their document. So the contention here was that this typed out comment was not included in the first draft of the minutes.
That appears that's what Mr. Booz. There's 2 issues. One the comments of someone who wasn't there were included, and that she was there and apparently
Hers
provided
was not
her
included.
were not. So yeah.
Okay, got it. Okay, very good. Ms. Chabot?
Yes.
You said you read your comments from a written statement?
Yes, I prepared a 150-word summary.
Did you provide that?
I read from it and I handed it in.
Okay, did you provide that for the record here today?
Yes, I did. It's in the beginning of your packet. Here, page 315.
315, I see it now. Okay. And Ms. Patterson, do you know if that was received?
I don't know, and so I think there's some additional questions I should ask about this one because this went in a different direction. So I will ask if one, they were in fact read, and then two, were they received, right?
Is there audio recording of this meeting?
Yeah, I believe there is. Let me just. We don't put the audio. We make the audio available in a public record, but because this is not like an official commission meeting, we don't post them.
Okay, thank you.
But I can get the audio. I believe there is audio, and I can provide that.
Okay, so at this point, I'm going to move that we continue the item pending getting the audio and other information that you can collect with regards to confirming if the written statement was received and read during the at that time.
I'd like to second that motion.
Mr. Chairman, Madam Chair, I would also like to note that the minutes themselves do not list Ms. Trabeau as a public speaker under public comment.
Right. That's the contention here.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's the main contention. Can you put a timeline on this? Because in this advisory committee, you've asked for documentation in the past, an index of records, and how the committee is constructed as far as the charter goes, and I haven't received that as yet.
No.
That's a different issue.
Yeah.
But Kit Patterson comes always unprepared.
No, we're
Thank
not going to
you.
consider it.
So we have a motion on the floor. Is there any public comment on that motion? Seeing no public comment on that motion, please call the roll.
On that motion, Member Wolf.
Aye.
Wolf, aye. Member Hensy.
Aye.
Hensy, aye. Chair Tesfa.
Aye.
Tesfa, aye. The motion passes. The matter will be continued to a future meeting of the Complaint Committee with a request to the Arts Commission to provide additional information.
I'll submit that in a letter form.
Thank you.
Okay.
Chair Tesfa, it is 7:28 at this time. Would you like to continue item number 8 and 9 and take action on number 10 to find jurisdiction?
Yes, please.
Would you like to take those?
The next complaint is clear and straightforward.
Excuse me, Mr. Rowe, you haven't been recognized. Thank you.
So just as an explanation, this meeting goes from 5:30 to 7:30. It is now 7:29. Item number 10 is urgent, and we need to find that we have jurisdiction over this matter and that the records are public. And so we will be taking up that matter and then continuing the rest of the items to the next complaint committee meeting.
Yes. So would you like to make a motion to continue item 8 and 9 to a future meeting of the committee?
I move to continue items 8 and 9.
Second.
Do you have any public comment on that motion? Seeing no public comment on that motion,
I believe Ms.
Comment.
Ms. Rowe wants to comment on the continuance.
Ms. Trabeau?
Yes, I won't be available next month.
Okay, well, then we will have the clerk work with you to figure out an appropriate date to get this on the calendar in consultation with me, the chair. So on this next item...
May we adopt that motion and continue without objection?
could we take that by acclamation?
Yes.
Thank you.
Item number 10, file number 18033, complaint filed by Ann Trabeau against Sharon Page Ritchie and the Arts Commission.
On this motion, from a reading of the packet, can we find that we have jurisdiction over this department? This has to do with more of a Brown Act, Open Meeting Act. It has to do with accepting public comment as well. And so I'm not sure if we need to find that these documents are public. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Actually, you are correct. I probably accidentally put that on. There are no documents involved from the looks of the title, and however, we can still find jurisdiction over the matter at this time.
And I would like to make a motion to find jurisdiction.
Second.
Do we have any public comment on the motion to find jurisdiction on this matter? Oh, I'd like to amend my motion, actually, to find jurisdiction and to continue the matter. Would you amend your second? Okay.
This is for item 18033.
18033, correct.
There being no public comment at this time?
Can we take this by acclamation?
Yes, the motion is adopted. Item number 11, announcements, comments, questions, and future agenda items.
I don't have any announcements. Do any of the members have any announcements?
No.
Next on the agenda is adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Do we have public comment on that? Seeing none, we'll take that by acclamation. Thank you.
The meeting is adjourned.